Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chaotic Tavern. I'm your bartender, Dan, and I've got a story to share with you. Springtime. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, the trees are gooning, and I can't breathe. Someone please make it stop. I did not consent to this. Anyway, fun fact, much like how the pollen is out here touching me, games like D&D can touch on some, touchy subjects. Violence, tragedy, you never really know what's going to happen in a campaign until it happens. And if that makes you uncomfortable, it can be pretty hard to speak up in the middle of a session and ask that things maybe be dialed back a little bit. No one wants to be the party pooper or the killjoy, but we all have our own histories and our own experiences. For some of us, some topics are just not pleasant to think about, let alone roleplay. And I think there's nothing wrong with voicing that. Everyone's at the table to have fun. That includes you. Some DMs do a really good job at reading the room and picking up on the subtle cues that someone's not enjoying something. Others use apps or props to let players signal when they'd like the DM to move on from something that's a bit upsetting. Things like these are tools to help improve the gaming experience at the table, but unfortunately they're just that, a tool. And a tool is neither a good or a bad thing. Kinda like how a hammer can be used to beat a man to death or build a house for a family. Tools like the ones I mentioned can be useful, but they can also be abused. Today's story revolves around a DM who does his best to help his party feel comfortable and have fun, and a player who figures out how to use that consideration to stop all that pesky role-playing in her role-playing game. Today's story is called Any Tool Can Be Misused by Casher. Last year, an old friend approached me because she had a hankering for some vampire action and asked if I'd be down to be the storyteller, the DM. I had time and haven't played Vampire in 10 years, so I agreed. 5th edition books were bought and I got to planning. We quickly activated 2 other old friends, a couple who eagerly jumped on board. Also joining us was what I hoped would become a new friend, a woman my old friend met in an FLGS. We were to play mostly online because the couples had 2 school-aged kids, making it much easier to schedule bi-weekly games from home. Discord servers in place, things went well. There was a first slightly reddish flag during our planning session in which the newcomer and my old friend both wanted to play Toreadors. For those unfamiliar with Vampire, your clan, like Toreador, is a mixture of class and background. Essentially, there are different vampire bloodlines determining to some extent what kind of powers you can get. Toreador, for example, gives you powers to seduce and awe, to move fast, and to have supernatural perception, and Toreador are generally obsessed with beauty and art in some way. Now, having 2 player characters from the same clan wouldn't have been a problem. But our newcomer objected. Trying to find 2 different concepts failed as she just didn't want anyone else having the same clan as her character. Ultimately, my old friend decided to just go with a different character idea and play Bruja instead. We forged on, and I distributed my customary pre-campaign safety stuff. A small sheet to give me topics that are off-limit, and my explanation that you can, at any time and for any reason, just DM me an X to immediately stop a scene and a Y to move on gently from a scene. Essentially lines and veils. Our newcomer was great, creating a suitable background and fleshing out her ghoul, basically a bloodbound servant many vampires use. We also played a prelude, a one-on-one session detailing how her character became a vampire and how they found their footing in their new existence. She was honestly wonderful, engaged, enthusiastic, and very into role-playing. But then the first session as a group came. I started us off by narratively zooming in on a nightclub where the couple's characters, who hadn't met yet, were. The Ventru lawyer and a gangrel layabout were on the prowl for blood while being approached by one of the enforcers for a keeper of the Elysium. Basically a vampire that runs a spot for vampires to meet under safe conditions, with the offer of an opportunity. They both accepted, and we proceeded to play out their hunt, during which the Ventru lawyer set her sights on a drugged-up guy and set to lure him out. All in all, it was less than half an hour to hook our first 2 players into the campaign, while also dropping some clues towards the lines of conflict I wanted to toss my players into. I got a Y in the Discord from the newcomer. Drug use wasn't checked on her questionnaire, but no matter. I veiled the rest of the scene, and we progressed to our newcomers Toreador and my old friends Bruja at the Elysium. Disguised as a monthly get-together for a charitable foundation, vampires mingled and the Keeper approached both separately, inviting them to the same meeting as the other 2. My old friends Bruja entangled the Keeper in a discussion about how the charity-funded blood banks operated, which was partially established in the background discussions. I was glad she did, because that blood supply network was something I intended to use in the intrigues of Vampire Society. All in all, maybe another half hour to reel in 2 characters and give the Keeper some personality. I got a Y again. I don't know why, but for any reason means for any reason. I wrapped up the discussion quickly. We played out the meeting the next night, setting the group on the task of rooting out whoever was diverting some of the blood under the nose of the Keeper, who of course was diverting some blood for her own purposes as well. That's why she ran the charity, after all. Basically, recently the number of people who came to a blood drive but were marked as unsuitable for donation had skyrocketed, leading the Keeper to suspect that blood was given but not logged and stored. All in all, I enjoyed the first session, even though I've never had 2 veil calls in the first session before. Okay, so food for thought here. It can be helpful to know that if you're uncomfortable with something that's happening in a group setting, you're not going to have to justify those feelings of discomfort. Especially when it's something that has a lot of explaining involved for why it makes you uncomfortable. But newcomer here is a bit of an oddity. They were given a document that more or less said, put something here and you won't have to worry about it. From what I can tell, there's nothing being touched on here that should be setting her off. You don't always owe anyone an explanation for every little trauma and problem that you have, but this is where that territory starts getting murky. The second time she sent the move along signal, that really should have been a sign that maybe she needs to reread that sheet and check a few more boxes. Of course, we all know what's really happening here. You read the title of the video and of this story. But we don't metagame at our tables, and we don't meta-watch my videos. So buckle up, let's get to the conclusion of this. Anyways, back to the story.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. Name's Mick the Mimic.
Hi, Mick. Can I help you? I'm kind of in the middle of something here.
Oh, I'm just here to ask if you could try and keep it down a little. I'm trying to sleep is all.
Sleep? But I didn't sell you a room. Where are you sleeping that I'm keeping you up?
Oh, under your floorboards. It's real nice under there. It's dark. You don't lock up the kegs in the basement. There's plenty of snacks in the walls.
What do you mean snacks? The only thing in the walls are the mice.
Anyway, if you could keep it down, that'd be mighty nice. Oh, wait, are you telling stories?
Yeah?
I love stories. Tell you what, I'm just gonna make myself comfy over here, listen in. Don't mind me.
You're not going away, are you?
No sir, no I am not.
Okay, anyway, back to the story. Our second session started with planning, of course. It was decided that, with the help of the Keeper, the group would infiltrate the next blood drive. The Bruja, who, unplanned but fortunately, was an EMT in life as a worker drawing blood, the Gangrel as security, the lawyer for bookkeeping, and the Toreador as a donor being shown around. Good plan. On to the fun. I started with the Toreador's tour and allowed her, due to her having good supernatural perception, a roll to sense that something was off about the person leading her around. She failed, but barely, so I left her with an odd feeling about the fellow. The others investigated, finding papers that the blood going missing always happened on shifts he was leading, him helping by taking a few blood bags to treatment and storage from our Bruja himself, before they were properly logged. All in all, we were maybe an hour into our second session when I got the next Y. I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out what was triggering our newcomer. The scene was literally the shift leader taking some blood bags out of a room and the Bruja signaling the Gangrel to follow him. So I did something that I really tried to avoid. I asked in DMs what the issue was, because I wanted to avoid it in the future, but I had no idea what it was. Our newcomer piped up in voice chat saying she was bored, that it had been half an hour since her character had done anything, which was true, but I was floored. Misusing the safety tool to veil a scene because you felt bored isn't something I had ever encountered before. I told her that the safety tool was not a fast forward button, and the others backed me up. I was ready to be conciliatory and make an effort to keep solo scenes shorter in the future, but that didn't matter. She stonewalled, unwilling to see how her using the veils was wrong. So, after a heated discussion, she left the group. My old friend informs me that she has told some other people in the FLGS that I run boring games. In hindsight, it probably was a bullet dodged. There's a happy ending though. We found another player quite quickly and are still playing the campaign. As a conclusion, use safety tools. They are good and important tools. But every tool can be misused. Oh my god, wow, she really hit you with the skip cutscene button. Jesus Christ, that's hilarious, but also unbelievably infuriating. Like, I'm laughing, and I shouldn't be, but god, that's great. 10 out of 10. I think you handled this well, OP, which is great. Honestly, I'm not sure what I would have done in that situation. The big tough guy in me says I'd give her what for, but the realist in me says I'd be so stunned at the audacity of this person that I think I'd be silent. Like, I'd probably be floored for a little while. That's a level of rudeness I didn't know existed. In any case, folks, moments like these are tricky ones. If someone has a problem with something in a deep psychological way, sometimes you don't want to pry into that mess. That can be really personal stuff for folks, and it's not territory you want to just waltz into uninvited, so props to you, OP, for at least trying. But anyway, dear viewer, what do you think?
Hey Dan, you sure you want to close up shop right now?
I mean, yeah, the story's done, right? So time to pack it in. Why?
Well, it's just, this video's only been a few minutes long. It's been a little while since you posted, so it just seems like you'd want to make the video count, I guess. I mean, I'm not here to tell you your business or nothing, it just seemed like a fine idea to me.
Well, you know what, Mick? You might be right. Tell you what, folks, one more, and I'll keep this one brief. Since I'm already talking about Vampire the Masquerade, let's stay on theme, shall we? This next story is titled Careful What You Don't Ask For, You Might Get It by Valchrist Storm. A little more lighthearted than some, and the horror entirely came from me, and was, I feel, entirely justified. I was running a Vampire the Masquerade game back in the days when you didn't have to specify which edition it was. For those who don't know, the system is point buy, and you can get extra points by taking flaws, sometimes called disadvantages, or disads for short. For instance, you could have more points to buy attributes and skills if you took, say, a physical disadvantage such as a missing limb, or a psychological one such as a phobia. This is where the problem starts. One player, we'll call him That Guy, decided he wanted to try and cheese the system by giving himself a phobia that he was sure would never come up. We were playing in modern-day Los Angeles, so he gave himself a phobia of elephants. Clever, right? Except I'm the sort of GM who believes you need to earn your disad points. I don't let people get away with a physical dependence on breathing air in Champions. I'm sure as heck going to make you earn your phobia of elephants. I asked him if he was sure about this. He was sure. I asked him if he expected to see a single elephant in modern-day Los Angeles. He smirked as he said no. He smirked, fam. So, okay, I decided I wasn't going to just forbid it. Instead, I was going to have some fun with him and the situation. Folks, there were elephants everywhere. Not always the real things, mind you, but pictures, statues, TV show clips, adverts, you name it. It started when the Coterie, the in-world name for a PC group, was investigating something and had to go to an occult shop. There were statues of Ganesh on almost every counter. Player had to roll his phobia check to see if he panicked or not. A little while later, there was a poster for the circus coming to town, complete with pictures of elephants doing circus elephant things. Player had to roll his phobia check. Back in their lair, one of the NPCs had a nature documentary on. Player had to roll his phobia check. A chase led them into the LA Zoo. Player had to roll his phobia check. About 5 sessions in, that guy asked me if he could use his accumulated XP to buy off his phobia, on the grounds that this level of exposure therapy would surely have cured him by now. Obviously, I allowed it, and we both had a good laugh. But boy, was it fun hoisting him by his own petard for a while. Beautiful, perfect, 10 out of 10, no notes or changes requested or needed. I love this. I love this. This is the best form of malicious compliance. It's not actually a real hindrance on the fun, it's not mean-spirited enough to be disruptive, and it sounds like the sort of thing that belongs at that table. Props to you, OP. This could have really spiraled out of hand if someone got upset, but it sounds like you've got a group that's mature and really tightly knit, and I like that. I envy that. Please invite me. Please. I'm lonely. But in any case, my dear viewers, that's going to be it for today. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about these stories. The first one is pretty open and shut with regards to who is being kind of a dickbag. The second one, though, if you've got any stories like that, I'd love to see them in the comments section. A huge thanks to my supporters on Patreon for helping me keep this tavern open. I'm gonna be uploading here a lot more often starting either this week or the next, so keep an eye out. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all soon for another round here in the Chaotic Tavern.